It's
all right.
hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
I can't. This is weird.
I like starting the episode with just weird singing
this is all I
because
can think
anyone that actually watches this on YouTube is just gonna hear some weird song for the first 5 seconds. Great.
You know,
Wait,
after
he
this
took
It's
episode-
not
over.
10 seconds.
If you get a blowjob from a snowman, is it called a frostbite?
Anyway, welcome to episode 63.
Snowjob.
Welcome. Okay, can we all shut up? Jesus.
Yes, I had to do it.
Welcome.
I can just never forget.
So weird. You guys are just talking constant when I'm trying to do
done.
intros
I'm
and
done.
outros and stuff.
Continue.
We're children.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to implement crazy shit in this world so that I can get around you guys doing that. Welcome to episode 63 of the Beyond Pixels podcast. Today we are talking about what can you actually own in VR. So avatars, worlds, the things you upload, images. Do you own anything in VR? That's the real question we're gonna see if we can figure out an answer today. I've got my ideas on how it all works, and I'm sure you guys will have some input on it. So to
Actually,
start
get the
off,
sheet. Just
do you actually own an avatar? If you buy an avatar from someone and upload it into VR chat, do you own that avatar in any way, shape, or form? I want to hear what you
I
guys
believe
think
so.
before I say anything.
I would say yes, because technically, it's no different than going to a marketplace and buying a bracelet from like a person who makes like beaded bracelets. Like, let's say, you're in a marketplace, like let's say in Agrabah, and you come across, fine, people who make these really cool bracelets. You buy one of those bracelets, that's your bracelet. You put it on your wrist, that is your bracelet. It's no different, I would say, like it's a product. At the end of the day, an avatar is a product of someone else's work. All right?
Yep.
Okay. And what's your two, Sobi and Stealth? What's your guys' thought on if you can own the avatar?
I've got something, but I'll wait for Sophie.
I mean, yeah, I believe you. You technically paid for the product and the services, so yeah, I would believe that you own it. I mean, I paid for this avatar, so I believe I own this avatar.
And Stealth?
I'm gonna throw a small caveat. How I feel about it, if it's an avatar that's like on a public listing, like on a website where you can buy avatars and you buy it off of that, I'd say you're getting a license to pilot that avatar versus actually owning it. But if
That's-
you private,
This is
I'm not done. If you privately commission an avatar, like you drop the money and then they create it for you, then at that point, yeah, technically they still own it, but you also have ownership of that avatar.
so in most cases, like even with like art and things, when you commission someone to make art, 9 times out of 10, you do not own the art. You own an irrevocable license to that art. I just bumped a button. Oh, that's fun.
At the same time,
You own-
though, unless you are the
Sophie got a
person who
new
created
look.
that
You have an
avatar.
irrevocable,
Yeah,
infinite license
Hey,
to
Xavier.
that, to do certain
Hey,
things with
how's it
So,
going?
the artists that I have make most of my things, they give me a license to do whatever I want with it, as long as I am not selling their art. Like I can't get stickers or shirts made with their art on it and sell those without paying them another fee to have that additional license as well. And the same thing goes with VR chat avatars. You do not, even when you commission someone to make an avatar, 9 times out of 10, that person is using assets that they bought from somewhere and
Or they're a madman
give you the avatar
created by
with those
hand.
assets on it. That's why I said 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
There's that one offshoot where they manually model every single bit of the avatar, and if you do that yourself, you own the avatar.
Yeah.
But most people don't do that. And there's another big key here. when you upload it to a VR platform such as VRChat, and this goes for every other social VR platform in existence right now, when you upload it to that platform, you are giving them the rights. You are giving them an infinite license, in a sense, to use and share your avatar, whatever you uploaded. So you might own it if and only if you personally made it from literally nothing. If you started off with the Blender Cube and made an avatar solely off of that, not importing anything, then yes, you actually own it. If you didn't do exactly that, you only have a license, a limited license for the assets. Most of the time, including things on my model right here, I don't own this model. I have a license. I paid for a license for certain clothes for this model. I can use them, but I cannot sell an avatar with those assets on it.
Well, Turtle, let's talk about commissions then.
What type of commission?
Right.
Is it a commission where they made it from the Blender Cube, all completely
No,
from scratch?
let's say that let's go by what you just said, made it from Blender, made it from a cube all the way down to every single aspect, every polygon, every single angle,
Manually
everything.
modeled.
Yeah, everything fully modeled, everything commissioned, and then they pass that off to the person who paid for the commission to be made. Do they
Then
still own that? Or is
the
it
creator, unless there is a contract, the avatar creator still owns it, and by them giving you the files, you are given an infinite license, basically,
okay,
to
so
use, reuse, and resell, as long as
Does
there was an
pri-
agreement made with them.
does price make a difference?
Usually, so like I said before, with my artist that I use for all of my like 2D art and everything,
Mhm.
like my logos and everything, they charge. Yeah, Rodraws, she's cool, she's awesome, she makes amazing art. I have paid her a lot of money to make different things. All of my DJ art is made by her. It's awesome. Anyway,
And soon we're going to have Beyond Pixel Art.
eventually.
Eventually.
Oh, hello,
100 bits.
Lexi. How you
Thank you,
doing?
Lexi.
Anyway, so when you
Good girl, Lexi.
so well, like I was saying with Rodraws, when I have her make art, my DJ art, I own the art, or I have an infinite license to use it for my own personal use, but I cannot resell the art without asking her and paying her an additional fee. And that's usually also how avatar commissions work. If you plan to resell an avatar, you have to pay the person that made it more money. And usually that's either 50% more or 100% more. So if you paid $50 for an avatar, you're going to be paying $75 or $100 to have the resale rights to it.
Well, let's talk about on the high end. Like, for example, Project Melody paid allegedly, I'm saying allegedly because this hasn't been fully verified, but she allegedly paid $5,000 to $6,000 for her model from the person who made it for her.
So
And the person
I
came
would have
back
to
and
know
tried to
the
copyright that
contracts.
model.
I would have to know what contract and what agreement there was between those people, because again, it's all up to that contract, and copyright law is actually very set in stone that unless you have a contract and you shared something with someone, if you made it and you shared it with someone and you didn't have a contract, copyright law basically says you are giving them an irrevocable license to that content that you just sent them, but the creator still owns it. Copyright
Well, I
law
just wanna make
does
one
not
distinction.
allow
It's not
automatic transfer of rights. It is.
Yeah, it's not copyright law that does that distinction. That's a separate. That's separate on it, like the unique identity of the product and person. So if I create a contract I know what you're talking about, but it's not copyright.
What I'm
controls
saying
that.
is, no, it is copyright law. Because if you make a creative work, which avatars are a creative work, it is automatically under copyright. You don't have to file anything. You don't have to have any contract. If I made an avatar, I legally own the copyright to what I create. You legally, as a U.S. citizen, you legally own the copyright to everything that you create, whether that's programming, art, anything. You own the copyright to it.
All right, so if I create a GM logo, or if I create a McDonald's logo,
Are you copying
isn't that-
someone else's copyrighted content?
I mean, technically,
Because
I'm
if
not.
you are,
I'm creating
with what
it
you
from
just said, you
scratch.
are but you are copying someone else. So copying someone else is still copying a copyrighted work.
Okay, I live in a country where there is no McDonald's for some reason, and even though this in this impossible scenario, I create it, but I'm definitely not
when
copying. We
you're
just have the
talking
same
about
creative
when you're
idea.
talking about cross country borders, it gets really complex and really confusing and stupid. Most countries go by U.S. copyright law. If one party is in the U.S., the U.S. copyright law takes over.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
but I
because
guess what I'm trying to
But
Go
it's
ahead.
Like,
don't-
copyright goes
Let's not
into, like,
argue
the,
about how
like,
complex it gets when you go from one country to another and you're going cross national borders. Let's not
when
get
I
into
was
that
in
because
Canada-
that is a whole nother
Okay,
topic
he's a
that
hillbilly
gets so
who's never
complex and
seen it.
stupid. Let's for the
yeah,
sake
but I guess,
of
I mean, I do have a point behind like what I'm trying to say. I mean, so
for
it's
the
not
sake
too
of
much.
argument, let's keep it to just U.S. copyright law because we are all subject to U.S. copyright law currently.
well, yeah, because
Agreed. Hillbilly. That's why I'm going with
So-
it.
So what I'm
What you're
saying
My
is,
question is,
go
my
ahead.
question is, if I make a rig, okay, let's say I make a rig or a model, and then someone else takes that rig and makes their own textures for the rig, is that theirs?
So so in a case like that, modifying someone else's works, you do not own the original work. You only own the modifications to it.
that's fair use. That's fair use.
Yeah, there we go.
That
Fair
is
use.
not fair use. That is also not fair use. Fair use is a whole nother story and even more
No,
complex and confusing. Fair
I
use
actually
does
think
not
we're
give you
allowed
the
to
right
talk
to
about
take
Bill
someone
some more
else's.
with.
Fair use does not give you the right to take someone else's work, modify it, and claim it as your own. That's not fair use.
Okay, yeah, that's copyright.
That is
But for
copyright
you
law.
to, like when
and
you're, well, let's say like
what I
you're
was
using a
trying to
model
get
of
at
mine,
that we
a
ended up
world
on
of
this
mine.
conversation.
It
I just
depends
don't
on
I was
what
trying to
aspect.
explain. I was trying to explain that if you don't have a contract with someone that you are commissioning something with, and you have to have some sort of an agreement that you have the full rights to what they create, and they have no rights to what they create, and that then is considered a contract between you and them, and allows you ownership of that content.
In other words, always get everything in writing. That's your
Yes.
lesson.
If you commission someone
What's your
to make an
defense?
avatar from scratch, completely from scratch, not using any pre-made assets, and you don't have something in text, in writing, with them agreeing that you own every bit of that avatar and all of the rights to it, then legally speaking, they still own the copyright and they are giving you an irrevocable infinite license. That's it.
You can have a
That's
verbal
how
agreement
US
too.
copyright law
Like,
works.
Like
Yes,
that's the
but,
thing too. Like,
verbal agreements are
yeah, it's still an
he
agreement.
said, she said. It is very hard to
Well, I mean,
get
I'm
a
look-
verbal agreement to hold up in court unless both parties agree.
Correct. Difficult, but not. But yeah, it's still on the same bar. You know, the same
So-
thing.
It is basically impossible. If you have
Fuck
any
was the DeLorean made?
any thought that someone is going to not give you the rights or not let you have those rights, and they said that they would, get it in writing. If you have any agreement with anyone, just get it in writing,
I'll
because
explain
words
it
do
later.
not hold up in court at all, really.
And it helps
I'm inclined to
with
agree.
both
That'd
parties,
be-
like literally both parties.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I've
Sophie.
written contracts.
You're okay. Sorry, I'm
So
talking to my
okay, so
dog.
Shit does go down, would it be whoever made it, or whoever had it on work?
So, most of the time, how the law works, unless there is an agreement, a written agreement, not just verbal, because if it's verbal and the two parties are disagreeing, then that verbal agreement is out the fucking window and can't hold up anywhere. So, unless there is a written agreement, the copyright law in the U.S. gives full rights to the creator, not someone that that item was given to.
Well, I don't want to throw out the verbal agreement. So here's the thing: you can get in trouble because verbal agreement. It's not that it's not holdable in court; is that it can be and it's dangerous because it's one of those he says she says thing. If someone believes, if the court agrees or more with one person or one party than the other over this, just you like saying he said she said, then it can easily slide in your opposing direction. It can slide into someone else's. I mean, a lot of things that happen in court is usually because of a verbal agreement.
Even trying to argue verbal agreement, if you go to court with just a verbal agreement, it is never going to come out identical to that verbal agreement unless both parties agree.
I agree
perfectly. So a verbal agreement's just out the fucking window. Don't trust them. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We agree. I'm saying it's not trustworthy.
Okay, then I don't know why you're bringing it up for.
But no, it.
We already went over that.
I'm trying.
Don't trust a verbal agreement.
Goddamn turtle. I mean, you're good at arguing. I'm getting in on this one. Okay. I was continuing because I wanted to correct what the fuck I was saying.
Oh my god.
It's me tonight, baby. I'm making my stand.
Man,
Yo, Circuitry, we got room on the couch.
This one is turning into a very...
You're not Circuitry.
This one's turning into a very legal discussion because ownership is a legal matter.
Well, technically, doesn't the country allow you to own things in the first place?
Technically, yes. If in certain countries you might not own anything you make, that's besides the point because we're in the U.S. We own what we own, and we own what we create, and copyright law gives us the right to anything we create. There's actually, speaking of that, there is a funny thing that can sometimes happen because U.S. copyright law doesn't care if you're a U.S. citizen or not. So in some countries, if you create something in that country, you own that thing in the U.S., but you don't in your own country.
Yep.
Yeah.
That can happen.
There's a couple of totally not Burger Kings in Australia would totally agree.
Burger
Reminds
Town.
me of
Patty
that old
region.
news article that I found of some guy in Japan
Sandwich
making
Duchess.
a Burger King, but it wasn't an official
Sandwich
Burger
Duchess.
King.
Ooh.
They just didn't have
I said
Burger
sandwich.
Kings
Yeah,
around
really
there.
good.
So
And I
here's
think it ended up
the
being
funny
taken
thing.
down.
The Grand Dutch Oven.
This world that we are sitting in right now, my home world, is made using the VRChat HomeKit, which is open to use only in VRChat. I cannot take this world and upload it to any other game legally because the
don't think
assets
there's
in
any
this
rules
world are
against that.
licensed. There is technically, because the assets in this world, most of the assets in this world are directly from VRChat's own HomeKit. VRChat licensed out and allows use of the assets in VRChat only.
Oh, then it's totally in other worlds. It's totally in other games. Like that, I can tell you right now. We could probably even find some in there. VRChat's assets is totally being used in other content, other VR games.
But so I'm specifically talking like the main room in Spawn. That room is the OG homeworld of VRChat. The walls in here are all made from that. The portals are all made from that. So they're legally speaking, I do not own this world. Legally speaking, I own basically nothing in this world. VRChat owns a license to it because I uploaded it to VRChat, and legally VRChat and any other VR social platform or VR platform that allows you to upload your own content, they have to have a license to redistribute.
Well, yeah, but they have to follow Unity's rules. So VRChat doesn't have much say past when I pull up let's say I make a house, right? I put it on Unity. I say use it for VRChat. It's VRChat's HomeKit has to follow the same rules I do as a regular person. Like they're not just because they're a corporation doesn't make them super special or over me. They're following the same rules.
Yeah, but anyway, it's
semantics,
really weird
baby.
and
Let's
complex
go.
when you do that. So the real big question: do you actually own anything? For
Okay.
most users, it's a big no. You don't.
You know what, Turtle? I'm going to agree with you because this was actually solidified on November 5th of 2021 by VRChat themselves. I have the material license agreement in front of me, and I can give you all of the definitions right now. All
Like
of them.
I was saying, that agreement gives so for any online platform to allow other people to view content you upload to it, there has to be a license agreement with them for them to redistribute the items you upload. So they have a license, and VRChat usually also has a media license to, they can go into your world, record your avatars, anything like that.
Well, yeah, here's what it says. This VRChat Materials License Agreement, this agreement is a legally binding contract between you, the licensee, and VRChat Incorporated, VRChat, regarding licensees' use of VRChat materials defined below. Please read this agreement carefully by downloading, installing, or otherwise using or accessing any part of VRChat materials. Licensee acknowledges that
so
licenses...
the license you're reading is actually the opposite side. It's the license that VRChat gives to players.
No, this is
utilize
their license.
VRChat?
They actually get to actually use all of this.
Yes, and that license is actually you playing VRChat. You're agreeing to this license, and yeah, it should encompass all of the uploaded content as well. But it's technically, legally speaking, you giving them a license to the content, because you still, if you happen to own the content you upload, like if you own the actual material that you are uploading, you still are giving them a license via their licensing agreement.
I'm wondering why they don't use the NSFW content to market.
Wait, I think it by extension
They could
almost feel
probably
like
get them in trouble.
Hey,
I mean,
there is
VRChat is still-
OnlyFans and Fansly. They could actually get a market.
VRChat's ran on. VRChat's ran on a platform that they don't own. Like there's Unity. They're a big part into the mix of a lot of this.
I think people would pay.
Yep,
for
VRChat pays a
fan.
license to Unity.
It's out.
VRChat is
they don't
also
have to pay when
utilizing
there's Twitch.
all. VRChat is also using all sorts of other APIs, such as Steam VR,
Yep.
the Oculus SDK. They are in agreement with those licenses, and it's a giant chain of licenses down to
Yeah, I
whoever
know.
created the final end item.
I have the SDK. This is the SDK license I'm reading. It isn't just the... Yeah, it's avatar, child folder, content, distro assets, distro content, distro license file, distro materials, example assets, folder, license file, licenses, SDK, term, user, user system, vend assets, vend content, vend license file,
Okay, we
VR
don't need to read
object.
through the entire license agreement
Yeah, I was
because
gonna
it
say-
all boils down to
I'm not even reading through all of them.
This
I'm
is the
just
EULA
giving you the
podcast.
whole-
Read the EULA.
no so those license
Beyond
agreements
the
all
terms of
boil down to
service.
what I was saying, where
You
uploading content. is giving an irrevocable license to VRChat. Sometimes you can revoke those licenses, but that gets really weird because you have to like manually contact them.
You have to
but
Yeah, and that's a tricky
contact
matter.
them, and
Yeah.
guess what? Lawyers and attorneys are going to get involved at that point.
Here's a question: maybe we should define ownership, because I think there's several ways. Like, there's ultimately owning exactly this thing that you created digitally, and whatever that means. Do you mean I could take a model, then put it on a TV commercial stream. Like, how
So-
far is the ownership?
In ownership,
taking
in
that.
my eyes, is and this is a two-part answer actually, because it's owning it in VR and owning it as a material item. So ownership is the copyright. If you have the rights to the copyright, if you have the copyright rights, that sounds so fucking weird to say. Just if you have the copyright to it, then you, legally speaking, own it.
Okay, so if you make something, there's not a copyright that prints out from it. So I make a
No,
cube,
but
I take a
you
cube
still-
and I just put it into a world.
If you create something, you own the rights to it automatically.
Inherent rights, yeah.
This
So that okay, we
This
agree
goes
there.
back to the. This goes back to the whole model thing. If you make the model, like you redo the textures, the original person still has the ownership towards the model.
One thing I think a lot about with worlds,
no.
avatars get funny because you're always using a base model, but with worlds, there's not too many base models that you'll use. So a lot of those worlds are built from the pixel, from the box. A lot of my worlds are built
So-
on there. I mean,
That's the thing, though. Is the black cat? Let's use the black cat for example. Is the black cat owned by Spooky Ghost Boo? Yes, and also probably no at the same time. I guarantee they are
So-
using pre-made assets in the world that they are just licensing, whether that's a free license or a paid license.
okay, what about like a shader creator or something like that? A lot of those guys have worlds in here. They make the shader,
If
they
you-
make all the stuff for it.
So if you
I mean-
create a shader, if you program a shader, you own the rights to that shader.
Yeah.
But now you use that shader in a world where you also use other assets that you don't own. Do you truly own that world?
So
Yes,
Turtle,
you do.
I'm
But you can't do anything and everything you want with it. So is it true ownership at that point?
okay. So,
So all
you're
you
saying
gotta do
that
is
we
remove
own
the stuff.
nothing.
Basically, unless you create something from the ground up entirely on your own,
And
you
use it off
probably
VR
don't
chat platform.
have- even using it on VR chat, if you build it from the ground up, you own it up until the point that it is integrated into VR chat. Then you don't own that integration part.
So basically, you'd have to build an entire VR platform yourself, like something like Chill Out or
Well, I'm not
something
gonna
like
get into
beyond that.
I don't really want to get into
mean,
that part of it because
That
again,
sounds
Wait,
very
we have to get
complicated
into that.
for the
Turtle,
30
don't back
minutes we
down
have.
now.
you don't because I was already explaining this. If you upload it to VR chat, you are giving VR chat an irrevocable license to redistribute and use whatever you upload to VR chat. That is a license, not technically ownership. You can still do whatever you want with what you create as long as you did not have to license anything in what you created from someone else.
So when we're crossing the platform, okay, so I've made
So-
like one of my worlds in VR chat, and then I put it into what's the other VR one?
Chill VR?
It was
There's
Chill Out VR,
there's
and then there's
Neos.
another one.
Rec Room?
Chill out.
I think it starts with R.
Rec
Oh,
Room.
Neos. It was Neos.
Neos.
On there. Yeah.
Okay,
So
that one.
once it crossed over, it's now changed to Resonite.
I see.
So now, yeah, I'm not sure if you heard that one either, but it's a different platform. Thought I'd test it out. So once I cross over into different
But the other
platforms,
ones I'm familiar with.
yeah, I haven't done Rec Room, but once you cross over to the platform, you now are under their partial ownership. So if their EULA
But you're-
says, "Hey, if you put your world on our platform, we can redistribute and do what you want," so they own a portion of the world that I created as well.
No. they own a license. They do not own the world or even part of the world. They own an irrevocable, infinite license. To the
So
world.
I still own the world.
You still own the world, yes. As long as
Yeah.
you did not use licensed items in the world.
Which is easy
It's-
for
it's-
VR
it's-
worlds.
There's a weird complexity to it because I would consider you as owning it outright if the license that you have with the assets in the world is free, open source. You can do whatever you want with these assets, whether that's modifying them, reselling them, changing them, anything like that. Then I would say you have full rights to the world and it is your world and you own it. But if one of those assets happens to be you cannot make money using this asset, I would say you no longer truly own that world.
Okay, so once you get to the monetizing level, it's monetizable, it's sold somewhere else. If you were, let's say you were to buy these couches, then there's a portion of this that even though they're really nice couches, since you bought them, they're no longer, free for you to sell the entire world. If you want to go back and put it on Unity for up for sale, you can't do it. And you can't, and I guess technically since VRChat SDK is free, you could just still resell, you could resell the world, even with the SDK on Unity. And the assets, as far as I know, everything's free in here. So you could put this on Unity and then put $5 on it, and people will buy it.
But can I legally do that? Because I have licensed assets in this world, though. I might not have paid for it, but I still had to agree to a license with the original creator of those assets. And
If
I
you
would
can
have
go
to
back
go and
on
look.
Steam and
I would have to go and
you'd
look
have to
at
look at
those
the
assets and determine if I am allowed to resell those assets.
You'd have to look at the Steam rules, or not Steam, sorry, the Unity rules on that for resale.
It's specific to the assets. So there are a few things in here that I got from the Unity asset store for free.
Yeah.
But when you get something from the Unity asset store, whether it's free or paid, you're agreeing to a license with the original creator of it.
Okay. Well, let's say like these couches were something with a license they do not want you to resell. I mean, how hard would it be just to replace these with a couple of boxes?
Yeah, and you would have to do that sort of thing if you wanted to resell a world. So copyright law and license law is really complex and confusing and convoluted. And in the end,
But people are selling stuff. It's possible.
It's a lot different than what Circuitry was saying at the beginning of the episode, where if you own a physical item, you literally do own that physical item. But now, if it happens to be a computer and you have an operating system installed on that computer, you own the object, but you do not own the data of that operating system. You own a license to that.
You're talking about the DDA, the Digital Distribution Act. That's what you're
We got the
referencing.
DDA in this building.
That
My
doesn't
brain
really
bone
matter.
is growing.
Even cars. Like,
even-
if you've ever heard of
I have a question,
tractor
though.
of the John Deere issue, people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for a John Deere tractor, but
This way,
they
Foxy.
don't own the software on it, so they can't
I'd wait
modify
for
it
it.
without going to the dealer and asking the dealer to do it. And that's the thing. Like, you can own something physically, but not the digital license that is on it. The same thing goes if you happen to have a gaming console. You own the physical console, but you do not own the software on that console. You own the physical DVD or CD or Blu-ray that the data is on, but you do not own the data. You own a license to
I'm
that
just
data.
vibing.
Okay, so
So it
copyright
is-
almost. Yeah, I get
it's-
you. I get you.
It's a lot different. Owning digital things is a lot different, and 99% of the time, it's licenses over owning a physical item.
All right, Foxy, what was your question? Because you wanted to ask some.
I have a question. So let's say these couches were at first free, okay, and then you put it. Say you put it on. You try to sell the world. While in the process of selling the world, the couches are no longer free. They now turn into a
Depends
paid asset.
on the license. It depends on the license
Okay.
agreement between you and the person that originally made the asset. Usually, this is actually a fun thing too. This actually kind of ties into something I was talking about completely outside of VRChat, completely outside of everything. Someone was saying that Disneyland or Disney World or something, they had that giant like special land use thing where they don't have to actually follow building codes or any of the local laws or anything. So it sort of ties into that because
It's like
they now
building
have
codes.
to
Is
follow
what
those
you're
codes.
talking about.
But
It's called a demon's lair.
And basically, what I'm saying is, building codes. When you build something, you have to follow the building codes of when you built it. If the codes change later on, and that would be like the license agreement changing later on, you're still subject to it when you agreed to it initially.
Yeah, that's how oil companies have been able to skirt around like disasters or
Yep.
explosions and stuff like that. You know,
Because
you
they
look at
built all the
the
stuff before all of the new rules went into effect. So that's why the
News
U.S.
is on
doesn't
a
have
slow
any
vibe
new
right now.
oil processing plants being built because they
Let's move into the
can't
music.
be built to
we
code
need to do
and
a
to
whole
current law.
episode around BP because I have a shit ton of files on BP. Jeez Louise.
But dude, copyright law is so fucking complex and confusing.
I know, because here's the thing. In the United States, it's called fair use. But in other countries, like I looked up in Australia for a friend of mine who was actually dealing with the same issue. Over there, it's called fair value. It's not called fair use, it's called fair value. And actually, their laws around fair value are way different than fair use. Like, it's an entirely different level of bullet points. I'm not
America.
even kidding.
America.
Fuck you. Get some French
Well,
fries.
remember-
It was a fucking headache to navigate. I'll say that.
So fair use is far different than anything we're talking about. Fair use, again, does not let you take something that someone else made and do whatever you want with it. Fair use,
That's stealing.
in the context of the U.S. law, is the use of copyrighted material. You don't have to ask the copyright holder for permission, and you can
You make it
only use it for.
transformative. You make it transformative,
only-
you make it your own.
You can no.
You steal with extra steps.
Yes, that is
No.
fair use. If you make it transformative,
No, that is not.
that is
fair
exactly
use-
what it is.
No, it's not. Fair use is for criticism, commentary, reporting, teaching, or research.
Well, shit, how
I
come
feel like we're
I
sounding
haven't
a lot
been
like
sued?
YouTube.
Because you're too small for anyone to care.
YouTube.
Just because you can do something and no one cares that you did it doesn't make it legal.
Well, no, because the avatars that I have are transformative. Like, they're not any aspect of the original. They don't take
So-
anything away from the original.
The avatars you have in VRChat, I would be interested to see the original posting from the original creator of the avatar, because 9 times out of 10 there is a list of bullet points that you are allowed to do and you aren't allowed to do with the avatar. Depending on the avatar, that list could include you can modify it, redistribute it, resell it, or you can't modify, can't redistribute, or resell.
What if the person puts the assets on the market and allows you to build as you please? Like,
That would
let's
be
say they
Free
take the
modification and everything.
They- they would take it
Then you can
completely
modify
apart,
it.
and you say you piece it back together and make it your own.
It's all dependent
Almost
on
Frankenstein.
the license. It's all dependent on the license. And there are some avatars that you go and if you go pay for an avatar for VR chat on any of the like Booth or any of the other different websites, there are a lot of avatars out there that you are not allowed to take parts off of the avatar and reuse them on another avatar. You're not allowed to modify the avatar. You're not allowed to do a lot of things. You're allowed to retexture them sometimes. Other times you're not. It's all dependent
like
on the
building
specific
worlds.
avatar. So
It's so
I can't
easy.
ask you. I can't tell you what your avatars are allowed to do or not because I don't know.
I just make places
Because
where
it's
people can
different for
PvP.
every single avatar. The avatar I'm using, the base is redistributable, reusable, whatever. You can modify it. You can do whatever you want to it. All of the assets on my avatar are all licensed in the same way. So I can do what I want with my avatar. I think there's one that I can't resell, but that's a different story.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the
'Cause I'm
market,
not going to sell my
in and
avatar
of,
anyway.
well, yeah, the market in and of itself determines the value of the assets in and of itself.
Yes, and a lot of the times, if an avatar creator is allowing full free modification, ripping apart the avatar and remaking it, they charge more.
Oh yeah, supply and demand. That's what kicks in.
That has nothing to do with supply and demand. What? Being able to modify something is nothing to do with supply and demand.
Well, it
The funny
depends
is I
on
find in
what.
reverse. Like I find in reverse when it goes to world building.
Well,
If you-
Turtle,
if you
not
find something that,
everyone
like,
knows how to use Unity and Blender. Okay?
Yes,
Understand that.
I
Not
get
everyone
that.
knows how to do that, so that's why
I
people
don't know
commission.
how that has. Yes, and I don't know
That's
how that
why
has
it's
any
called
context
supply-
or
that's
bearing
why
on
I
supply
brought
and
that up.
demand.
That's why I
Supply and
brought it
demand
up.
would be this asset creator or this avatar creator has 6 commission slots available this month, and only 2 of them are available right now. Their supply is 2, but there's a bunch more people that want to get it. That is supply and demand. The licensing of a pre-made avatar that you go and buy has nothing to do with supply and demand.
I'm talking about creators who don't know how to use Unity, who don't know how to use Blender, who have to commission people who do know how to use those particular apps
Yes,
and actually build the avatar for them that they
Yes,
want in their
but we're-
specifications.
So fucking lost. We were talking about the licensing of avatars. That has
I'm
nothing
not
to
talking
do with
about
supply.
licensing. Fuck licensing.
That's what we were-
Throw licensing
That's
out
what
the
we've been talking
window.
about this whole time.
Was it like
This
this
whole
last week?
episode's about the
I was
licensing
busy.
of things. I don't.
You're talking about licensing. You brought it up. I don't care about
This
licensing. I
entire
care about
episode
the.
is about.
We're
Why
talking
do
about what you
you don't
own.
care about the entire
muted.
topic. Yes.
We talk
and
about
to
what you
talk
own.
about what you own and to talk about
Almost
what you
came left.
own, we have been talking 99% about the licensing.
Oh, no
of
one I
things.
missed and retained.
Thank you, Toby, for
Interesting.
catching that.
I know, but the larger part of
ownership
licensing
in
is the
virtual
platforms,
things.
not the fucking creators. Those people
No,
own the
it's
copyright. The platforms own the licensing.
No, they don't.
That's that.
The
That's what
avatar,
you
so
explained throughout this whole thing.
you're not understanding anything about the laws with it, then,
No,
apparently.
You've explained
Because
everything.
goes-
You said
it
that
goes
the,
like this. It goes like this. Let's say I'm an avatar creator. I make an avatar. I post it on Booth for $50 with stipulations that you can't modify it, you can't redistribute it, you can't resell it. Someone else buys that avatar for $50. I am giving them a license with the limitations that I previously said. I am giving them that license by them buying it from me. Do you get that? Are we on the same page so far?
How much is the license? How much would it? What would you charge, personally,
I
as
just
a creator?
said let's say we're charging $50 for the avatar
$50. Okay,
That's what I just
so
said.
$50 for the
Go to
license,
OnlyNubs.
with the specific
not for the avatar.
limitations.
Not for the avatar, but for the license.
Do you
Right?
understand do you understand how your Steam library works?
Yes.
Do you own those games?
My shoulder hurts.
No, I don't own those games.
Okay,
It's time to do a pop.
how are you able to play those games if you don't own them?
I click on them and play them.
I don't know who opened this. So
You have a
cheers, man.
license to those games.
Cheers.
But you physically, you have the files on your computer, but you still only have a license to the game. The same thing goes when you buy an avatar. You might have the files, but you still have a license that you have to abide by. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't.
I don't know how. I'm done with this. I'm done with talking to you about it then. If you're not going to. If you cannot understand how the license works and you're going to sit here and argue with me about how licenses don't matter, then you're
Well,
just
no,
totally
you're saying
wrong.
Is this the
licenses only matter to upper platforms like, you know,
Sometimes.
to
No, they don't.
what
They
you
matter
are
to everyone at every layer.
My neighbors upstairs shifted something.
Well, no, because copyright matters to the creator.
And yes,
I'm saying copyright
and
matters to the creator, and licenses only matter to the platform. That's what I'm saying.
You're wrong. You're wrong. You are horribly wrong with that.
There were horny sluts in your area?
You are
That's
extremely.
probably correct.
Oh.
You are extremely
I thought it was
wrong
muted.
about the license only matters to the platform. Because as I said, if you buy an avatar off of something like Booth, you are agreeing to certain stipulations, in turn becoming a license agreement
You're talking
with
about
the
license
avatar
agreement,
creator.
where you click
Yes.
the thing that says "I agree."
Get out of here, you slut.
By paying for a virtual item, you are agreeing to stipulations. By buying an avatar
I'm
off
not
of
sure what you're supposed
Booth,
to deal with.
you are agreeing to certain stipulations, which, guess what? That is a license agreement.
do you think this is gonna go?
Do you understand
I
what a
wanted to go for another
license
2
is?
hours, but
How
this-
a license
it doesn't
agreement
last that
works
long.
in multiple layers? Do you understand that?
How often does it result
Does it-
in a legal battle?
Doesn't matter. Like I said before,
It does matter.
just because you can get away with something does not make it legal.
How
And
does
there
it
have
make?
been avatar creators that have gone after people for reusing and going against the licensing agreement that that avatar creator gave to the people that bought that avatar. They have
Okay,
gone
so
after different
between
people
license-
for reselling avatars that they did not have the license to resell.
Okay, between license agreements and copyright, how many lawsuits have there been? Can you tell me that?
I have no clue. There's been millions of copyright lawsuits. There's been
Oh,
millions
yeah, I
of
agree with
contract
that.
lawsuits. Millions of license agreement lawsuits. There's been a million of them. Specifically with VR chat, probably not a lot. But again, now you're trying to say, oh, just because no one
Well, I'm saying that it's
done it,
what you're
makes
bringing
it,
up
no one
is a
cares,
minority.
makes it just fine. And
What you're
it's-
bringing up is a minority compared to the
I'm
majority
talking
of what I'm talking
legal,
about.
I'm talking legally speaking. I'm not talking what you can get away with. What you can get away with and what is legal is vastly different. Do you go 1 mile an hour over the speed limit when you drive? If
Yes,
so, you're
I go
breaking the
5.
law. Does anyone care? Does anyone care that you're going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit? Not really. Does it make
If
it
you're anywhere
legal?
in northern
No.
Texas, yes. Don't ask me how I know that.
So, sir, stop trying to
all
separate.
aware as well.
Oh, because no one
They're like
cares,
Pokemon.
it's fine and it's
They go,
suddenly
pew.
legal. Because that's not true.
God.
You still do not legally own it if you are under an agreement like that.
Okay, so all right, going back to the original question, what do you own in VR then? What do you own? Like, do you own anything at all? In any capacity?
You own.
Ow.
You
What
own
do you
only
own?
what you.
No. Bar top fuck platforms. What do you own in VR? Just VR.
You
Oh,
own.
What do you
VR
own?
chat says I own a couple.
No,
I'm
no, no,
trying to
not
answer
VR
your
chat.
question.
Not VR.
I am trying to
chat.
answer your question, and I say
There's a
you
list for
own,
what
and
I
you
own.
suddenly stop me. So I can't answer your question if you're going to stop me after
No,
you
Xavier.
own.
Xavier. I was answering Xavier.
Oh, okay. So what I was saying is you own technically what you are provided from VR chat. You have a list. You own a few avatars that you've created, and you own some worlds you created.
You also own any images you upload if you already owned that image. It's basically if you upload something to VRChat that you already owned outside of VRChat, then you are just giving a license to VRChat to use that content, but you still own it. So,
Okay,
do you
I
actually
agree with
own
that.
anything in
I agree
VR?
with that.
Yeah,
It's a gray
let's
area.
go.
Please tell me this is all over.
I've simmered down still. All right. I'm calm. I'm cool. I'm collected. I said a prayer. I'm good.
Cool. One side of the pot
Alright.
has simmered. What about the other?
As long as I'm not going to have someone yelling at me that contracts don't matter and it doesn't matter if no
Hey,
one
don't
cares
bring it
about
up again. Don't bring it up again.
It sounded like
You go do your 5 mile an hour over the speed limit and let no one care, but it's still be illegal.
Ooh,
I'll
Daddy,
happily
tell me about
run
your
out
copyright.
into
About
the
this
freeway
contract.
on foot. I'll make you all proud. I'll run 60 miles an hour next to a Cybertruck and then get run over.
I mean,
Anyway,
say I'll be
a
off the
real
Cybertruck
circuit
off. They're
truck.
pretty light.
So, any other little quick comments about what you may or may not own? Like, here's a good question: do you own your physical actions? Do you
Yeah.
own your voice?
Yes, I do.
Huh?
According to my wife,
Unlike
when I
Bart
get angry,
Simpson,
no.
who doesn't.
According to my knowledge.
That is a story you need to
Well,
ask.
now we're
I
talking
have
about-
no recollection of it.
Now we're talking about individuality. So
Do you
yes, I own
actually
my
own your
individual voice, my own individual motions. Yes, I own all of that because
I own this gun
there's
and the 3
nobody
dead
that
bodies
owns
behind.
that.
Circuitry, I would buy the
Do
rights to
you-
your vocal cords.
Actually, if you are in full body VR, do you actually own the
Here, I'm
tracking
selling my
data?
vocal cards. I write the vocals, my vocal cords for
I
about
don't think you do.
$300.
Stealth,
If you are
I
in
challenge you
full-body
to fuck your
VR.
wife with my voice.
What the fuck is wrong with circuitry today?
Fuck.
Give me time to piece an AI voice together. I will fucking do it.
Anyway,
I
so
will probably
now
buy it.
here's a little
Pornhub, here
thing.
he comes.
Okay, can you what the fuck? If you are in full body VR or even half body VR and you have your controllers in your head, do you own your tracking data? I don't think you actually do,
Technically,
because
What?
the
The
internet
hardware you
owns
have
it.
on you,
Nobody.
the hardware you
Nobody
have
owns
on
it.
you is
I
licensed.
mean, you can record it.
It has software that is licensed from another company.
I'm so
Somebody breaks into like a sort
own your
of
Oh, God.
car?
Well,
When you
well-
For the
drive
people
your
on
car,
YouTube
are
watching
you
this right
actually
now,
driving?
comment
Wait,
how many
If I
shots
take a
you've taken
picture,
every time he said licensed. Comment how many
Wait,
shots
wait.
you've taken every time
You
he said
can't
licensed.
talk
This
about
entire thing.
circuitry.
Rewatch
Why are you
I've
so
taken
angry
pictures
about
of
me talking
titties.
about licensing
Does
when we are
Apple
talking
own
about
titties
digital
now?
ownership?
my titties.
I'm
How?
sorry.
He said licensed.
Pause for a second. How can you talk about digital ownership without talking about a license?
Because license is by
Explain
the
that to me.
platform largely.
No, it's not.
Largely, platforms
We've already been over that.
more are concerned
Okay.
over. That's the way I don't personally. If
Just
somebody,
because you think the platform's the only one that cares
This
about the
was
license,
going to happen. There was no way.
there
this
are
was not
still
happening. No, this
licenses
stopped.
every step of the
No
First
way.
of all,
way.
the only way I would
was
you're
working.
talking about an LLC. That's the only way I would be able to do that is if I had a
That's no, that's not. Did you know an LLC actually does not mean a damn thing?
limited liability company. I think it does.
If you are a sole proprietor for an LLC, It's a legal separation to a point,
Glasses.
but it acts as a person. It has the same rights as you.
Yeah, but it
Just
also
Pass through.
makes you.
Everything just passes
it makes
straight
you-
through. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Well, like
It's
if
pretty close
a
to
small
my area.
family business gets sued, let's say, just like a ma and pa shop, then they have to license as an LLC. They have to become an
And
LLC.
I don't know
and,
why we're
like,
not talking about
limited-
company forms when we were talking about
Trust
licensing.
me, I've read a lot about
do you
this.
Do you think you can't own the licensing and the copyright to something just because you don't have an LLC? Is that what you're trying to say?
It depends on the larger company. Like usually, the distributor above is the one with the
Circuitry.
licensing
Answer this
agreements.
simple question I just asked you. Do you think you cannot own the copyright to something unless you have an LLC? Do you think that's true?
Start drawing.
No,
Okay, good. Then why the fuck are we talking about LLCs and companies? They don't matter in this context. They are an entity, just like you. You don't have to have an LLC covering you for
it's just in
anything
the
to
context
do
of
with
your,
the
what you
ownership.
were. It's the way you were putting it. It's the way I was addressing what you were saying.
I don't think you
I'm
were.
sorry if I misheard something.
Look, the only thing I'm taking away from this is back to the tracking data. I'm just imagining somebody break into the server hub, and the only thing they see is just waste trackers going haywire.
So he was moving his hip
Oh
thrust.
my
That's
god.
gonna
Hip
happen.
thrusting. I have the data.
He already
Well,
hit
anyway,
us.
I think we're gonna end it here for the night. So
Solid note.
yeah, thank you all.
Unless
for
anyone
being here
else
for-
has anything. Unless anyone else has anything to say.
We already went over that, and that's how we ended up on the tracking information and that. So I really don't think you've been here listening to half of what's been said today's circuitry. Anyway, thank you all for coming to episode 63 of the Beyond Pixels podcast. We're here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time on twitch.tv/turtledude01. You can also find every previous episode over on YouTube under the same name, TurtleDude01. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube and you're still watching to this point, please comment something about anything. Like, what's the weirdest license or contract you have seen or agreed to? Because I know there's some weird ones out there.
Isn't
And
there like a legal thing with right to own
subscribe.
games?
Oh god, don't get started.
Yeah, that can be a topic for another day, actually.
Can we make it 10
Game
episodes from now?
ownership.
I'm not ready to deal with this shit again.
Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and do the thing we do at the end of every episode. I think I went through all of my stuff, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start over here today.
A wall.
Show yourself.
Indeed. Y'all can find me on twitch.tv/TheFox. If it wasn't any more obvious, I've been on a much more permanent hiatus than I care to. However, in about a week or so, I've got a new graphics card coming in. As soon as that graphics card comes in and gets inserted into my computer, I'm going to do my damnedest to stream a lot more because I won't be dying in the middle of a stream. So as soon as that starts, I'm going to get started again. See y'all soon.
Insertion. Xavier.
Hola.
This is not only
I want to
Twitch.
promote eating healthy, like waffle fries and like waffles with like strawberry butter. I had it this week. It was excellent. Chicken smothered in like chili. Definitely go there, feed yourself well, eat healthy. All the green stuff, throw it in the trash. Get yourself a big fat ass. That's me.
Nah.
Joy, no.
Do you have anything you want to show?
God.
Join only.
Just think about that fat ass.
You know what? You know what? I'm gonna go more on what Xavier was talking about. I hope you guys get some sleep. Better get some sleep. I swear to God, if you don't get sleep, you will get sleep. Sleep is healthy. Nice. It makes you feel
Sleep is for the weak.
fresh, relaxed.
Keep your booty at the end of the day.
Subscribe.
Someone's gonna
That's
eat
why
it.
he's. Yeah, no,
Is that it?
And circuitry.
I genuinely don't know what to say after that.
You can find me on Rumble and also on Kick. I dual stream between the two, SYRKATRII. You can find all the links on my X account. Go to x.com and you can see them there. Re.
Okay. And that is it for today. I don't know what we're talking about next week. We're going to figure that out.
Come.
Oh, ooh, we can talk about the economics of comma. I mean, there's economic inequality.
no, sex economy.
There's not enough
Sex
cum
economy.
in certain mouths. They need